Hey everyone, my name's Shane, and I'm a big baseball fan. Welcome back to the channel. We're going to kick off some more baseball content for you today. If you haven't checked out our first video, make sure you check that out. But for today's video, I'm going to tell you my predictions for where the top 25 free agents in Major League Baseball are going to sign. If you're wondering where this list comes from, check out the link below. We're looking at the predictions for Sports Illustrated. They've made their predictions. I'm going to tell you what's actually going to happen. Let's go. Number 1, Carlos Correa. Correa's signing with super agent Scott Boras makes this a very interesting case. He's obviously going to be looking for a big money, long-term deal. That's going to put in the big market industry. We see teams like the Dodgers and Yankees could be competing for this type of player, but I think Correa makes things a bit interesting. He's the type of player who could really impact a team right now and in the future given his age. So I've got Correa going to Chicago and joining the Cubs. You might think the Cubs are in a bit of a rebuilding phase. I think it was more of a retooling phase. They've picked up pitchers like Marcus Stroman and Wade Miley, and the National League Central isn't the type of division that's going to put up a big competition year to year. It's a winnable division for the Cubs, who really don't have the prospects to put together a real long-term rebuild quickly. So they're going to have to do some retooling on the fly. I think this is where Correa comes in. I can see this ending up with a long-term deal in that 10-year range like Francisco Lindor. Maybe it tops the $341 million mark as well. But I think Correa, maybe it works in a couple of opt-outs, potentially after maybe 3 or 4 years, and really buys into another potential big contract down the road. But for now, I've got Correa going to the Cubs. Number 2, Freddie Freeman. Look, Buster Olney's talking out there and putting the idea that Freddie Freeman's going to leave the Atlanta Braves. We've heard all kinds of rumors of Freddie wanting that 6-year deal from the Braves. Well, my gut still says where there's smoke, there's fire, but Freddie's going back to the Braves. He's got that opportunity to really settle into the Braves. I think comes in that 6-year deal, long-term deal with the Braves, front-loaded with the contract to save a little money in the back end and Freeman starts to regress. The DH spot really gives the Braves some opportunities to cushion the blow later in Freddie's career between a first base DH combination, bank on Freddie those 30 home runs, 100 RBIs every year, staying in Atlanta. Number 3, Kris Bryant. Bryant's got a lot of options. He's a very interesting player who can play third base, can play the outfield. He was a really good pickup for the Giants in their postseason run. This year, I've got him signing with the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners lost Kyle Seager to retirement. They could use some outfield depth as well. A player like Bryant can play all over the field. Quality right-handed bat. Makes a lot of sense for the Mariners team, who are really on the rise. And an addition of Bryant could really put them over the top in that American League West. We see Oakland coming back a bit. Potentially the Astros coming back a bit if Correa does in fact leave. And this leaves a lot of opening for the Mariners. Got a lot of young talent along the way. Kris Bryant could really solidify that. A winner who's been there with the Cubs, participated in a lot of playoff series. I've got Bryant going to the Northwest. Number 4 is Trevor Story. Now, Trevor Story is going to be very connected to Correa being the shortstop, although there is the opportunity that Story may fit a little bit in the outfield or some second base as well. I'm going to hedge my bets on Story a little bit here. On a 1-year deal, he goes to the Yankees if the market doesn't materialize. If you can find the long-term deal, I think it's with the Astros. Starting with the Yankees, they don't really seem to want to really fill their shortstop position. They've got a couple of young prospects that are getting very close to filling that position. So if they're looking at a 1-year deal with someone, Trevor Story could really fit the bill for the Yankees and not cut into that long-term mix where they've got to re-sign Aaron Judge. If we're talking a long-term deal and a long-term home for Story, got to be the Astros. If they lose Correa, they're really going to have to fill that spot. They're still a team with a lot of championship aspirations. You got to find a quality player at shortstop. Story still brings a lot of defense and a big-time power bat to the position. So we're going long-term. Story to the Astros. Number 5, Nick Castellanos. Castellanos is a big-time hitter. He can play the outfield a bit. He's not a terrible defender. The DH spot is going to help him out a bit, as he's going to have some more at-bats and get some more at-bats that way, especially if he sticks with a National League team. I have him going to the Giants. The Giants need a bit of outfield production. They've got to replace some offense that they lose with the loss of Buster Posey retiring and the potential loss of Kris Bryant. They also have some room in the DH spot where Castellanos can fill in some at-bats there as well. The Giants are still trying to push for that National League West title and really prove that last year wasn't a fluke. You got to see some regression coming from players like Brandon Crawford and Brandon Belt over last year. So Castellanos makes a lot of sense. The analytical-based team that is the San Francisco Giants. Number 6, Clayton Kershaw. There's been a lot of speculation that Kershaw might return to his home state of Texas, but I've got him sticking with the Dodgers. The money isn't going to be there for Kershaw, I don't think. The health just hasn't been there. He's beloved of the Dodgers, and the Dodgers still need a lot more pitching. Outside of Walker Buehler and Julio Urias, there isn't a lot of stability in the starting rotation for the Dodgers. They know what they're getting in Kershaw. They understand the risks with the health. But Kershaw just seems like a Dodger fit all the way. Number 7 is someone that a lot of people might not know about, and that's Seiya Suzuki. Suzuki has been a real power bat in the Japanese league, and he's making the shift over to the Major League Baseball to bring his talents to the States. It's really going to be interesting to see what teams are in on Suzuki. We've heard a lot of rumors of the West Coast, but I've got him going to the Red Sox. The Red Sox are not big money spenders, it seems, right now, especially with their change in general managership the last couple of years. So their philosophy really seems to be looking for more of that bargain type player. Suzuki could really fit the mold here. He could be an opportunity to fill in some at DH. He seems to be a quality outfielder. We can expect some power from him for sure, and you know the Red Sox love power when it comes to Fenway Park. So I've got Suzuki fitting in the Red Sox. Number 8, Michael Conforto. Conforto had a really rough season in 2021 for the Mets. His production just wasn't there, but he's only 1 year removed from quality seasons. He had a little trouble last year too. He had a bit go through with the scandal in the sense of him getting purposely hit by a pitch, and maybe he just seems shaken for the entire season. I got Conforto bouncing back a bit this year, and a team that may have a fit for him and need for outfielders will be the Cincinnati Reds. If Castellanos does walk from the Reds, they're going to have to fill in some outfield spots. This is where I think Conforto fits in on maybe a 1, maybe 2 year contract where he's kind of got to prove himself and regain that value so he can hit free agency again. He's still young enough to bank on a potential longer-term deal down the way. But the Reds seem to be hit and miss in terms of money value, but I think they just need that stability in the outfield. So I've got Conforto going for a bit of a bounce-back year with the Reds. Number 9, Carlos Rodon. Rodon really put it together for the White Sox in 2021. Really showed that true left-handed power on the mound. So it'll be interesting to see what teams might be interested in Rodon. His health is a real mixture over the last few years, but I've got Rodon going back to the White Sox. The White Sox still need that pitching depth. He can be a real ace when healthy and can really mow teams down. You don't see that type of velocity from a starting pitcher coming from the left side that often. So Rodon can be a real weapon when healthy. The White Sox seem to figure out his health now. So let's see if 2022 can be another repeat quality season for Rodon. Number 10, Kyle Schwarber. Schwarber split time between the Nationals and Red Sox last season. We saw some crazy month of July for Schwarber where he put up all those home runs before the move of the deadline to the Red Sox after some injury issues. Could be another big power bat along the way. Schwarber really could benefit from that DH spot as well and open up his market to a bunch of different teams. Team that's still looking for some of that power, and again, maybe on the bit of the cheap side, but the Boston Red Sox could really take use of Schwarber again. He can fill in some at first, he can fill in some in the outfield, in particular left field where his range doesn't have to be as great, and he still has the opportunity to fill in some at bats, the DH spot for them as well. If Seiya Suzuki doesn't fit in with the Red Sox, I think Kyle Schwarber could. They understand the type of player he is now, and he just may be that bat who pushes them over the top again. Number 11, Kenley Jansen. Jansen's an interesting case. He had a bit of a bounce back year in 2021. Not to say he's been poor all these years. He's had a lot of good seasons. He just seems to be starting to regress. but he really bounced back in 2021, had a real quality season for the Dodgers. There's a lot of teams out there looking for bullpen help, especially with the name and recognition that come with Jansen, but I've got him sticking with the Dodgers. The Dodgers want to have the type of playoff aspirations they've had and winning that championship. They need pitching depth. Their bullpen has been up and down the last few years. Jansen can provide that stability for them. They're lacking a lot of true quality relievers and seem to really need that little bit of extra from Jansen. So let's expect Jansen to re-up with the Dodgers. Number 12, Anthony Rizzo. Rizzo has obviously moved partway through the season from the Cubs to the Yankees. He put up some decent number of the Yankees. It caused a little bit of stir because Luke Voit wasn't getting the at-bats that he may have been expected to at first base after he returned from injury. It's going to be interesting to see where Rizzo fits. Maybe a possible return to the Cubs, but I've got him going back to the Yankees, who really need that depth at first base. Luke Voit seems to have fallen out of favor there and could potentially be moved. The Yankees need someone to be able to put some quality at bats together at first base. And let's see it. That big left swing from Rizzo playing Yankee Stadium, he's got an opportunity to hit a bunch of home runs. He's a real on-base type of guy, likes to drive the count. That kind of fits the Yankee philosophy. So I've got Rizzo returning to the Yanks. Number 13 is the easiest one on the list, Kyle Seager. Kyle Seager retired this offseason. Best of luck in your retirement, Kyle. Thank you for all the quality years in Seattle. Number 14, Nelson Cruz. The old man keeps on swinging it. So let's see where Nelson Cruz takes his talents this year. He spent a real good start of the year with Minnesota before he was moved to Tampa Bay. Didn't really ever get it completely going in Tampa Bay. So where are we going to see the big DH fit this year? Well, if the universal DH opening up, I think he ends up in Milwaukee. The Brewers are really getting that point where they've got to make a big-time push for a playoff spot and a championship run. They aren't the type of team who's got a big market. Their pitchers are getting closer and closer to free agency, and they're going to have to pay them. The Brewers really don't seem like the type of team are going to make that type of financial commitment for that long, and they've got the big contract of Christian Yelich already. I think Nelson Cruz on a one-year deal, he's probably going to go year to year from now anyway, so it brings a power bat to the Brewers who need the offense to really pick up if they have those types of championship aspirations. So let's send Big Nelly to Milwaukee. Number 15, Michael Pineda. Pineda had a decent year with the Twins last year, although he's had some injury woes along the way. We've had some suspension issues along the way. He could be a really hit and miss type of player. He could add some starting pitching depth. You almost start to wonder if teams aren't going to look at him as potentially a back at the end of the bullpen reliever with that big time velocity and control. I've got a real challenge with Pineda on this one just because of the health. So you kind of have to look for a team who really is hurting for pitching. So I've got him going to the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies starting rotation after Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola really doesn't strike fear in anyone. Pineda could fit in if he's capable of being a quality starter for them. And if it doesn't work out in the rotation, he could be the type of player who moves the bullpen, and the Phillies need some help there as well. So let's see if Michael Pineda can help out the Phils. Number 16, Kwang Hyun Kim. Kim is an interesting player. He doesn't throw very hard in terms of pitching style. He brings a lot of experience to the Japanese League. He's going to be entering his third season in Major League Baseball. During 2020, he had some really good numbers for the Cardinals. 2021, took a bit of a dip back and ended up in the bullpen. The injuries of the elbow start to concern some teams, I'm sure. But if Kim is fully healthy, he could be a really decent number 3 or 4 starter for a lot of teams. He may be the type of player who could also end up in the bullpen as well as a multi-inning reliever. So there's a lot of teams looking for that type of depth in both the starting and relief market. I think Kim ends up in Texas. Texas seems really intent on rebuilding their team, making a push for the playoff spot. Kim could be the type of 3 or 4 starter for them to really help them along with that depth, or potentially end up in the bullpen as a multi-inning type of guy. We've seen the big types of moves the Rangers have made in terms of John Gray, Marcus Semien, and Corey Seager. Well, let's see if they add another bit of a piece to their puzzle with Kwang Hyun Kim. Number 17, Jorge Soler. Soler started off last year having a really rough time with Kansas City. He kind of started to find his groove a little bit just before he was moved to the Braves. And he had a really nice finish to the season with the Braves and put up some big time power in the playoffs to really help Atlanta bring home the title last year. Soler is an interesting guy because he can play a little bit in the outfield. Big guy with big power. We've seen the power coming in his seasons in Kansas City, setting a team record that time of big time power. So let's see if Soler can maybe make use of the DH spot as well. I can see Soler ending up with the Cardinals. The Cardinals really could use one more outfielder to fit along with their depth out there with Tyler O'Neill and Harrison Bader, but a lot more pop. We know Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado are there. Nolan Arenado obviously adds the pop. Goldschmidt has kind of taken a little bit of step back in that sense, not quite as many home runs. Tyler O'Neill picked it up from the big time last year. A DH who could really offer some pop in the form of Jorge Soler might just be the type of player to really help them take that next step into not only taking the National League Central crown, but making a run in the playoffs. Number 18, Eddie Rosario. Eddie Rosario is going to be remembered for that playoff run in Atlanta for a long time. Started off a miserable start to the season with the Guardians in Cleveland before moving on to the Atlanta Braves, even when unhealthy, got himself healthy and put together a real magical run at the end of the season. Rosario is going to have some options because he is a decent outfielder, and with that DH spot opening up, there's going to be some National League teams take a look at him as a potential fit in their outfield with some additional at-bats DH. In the end, I look at him coming back to Atlanta. The Braves have 3 outfielders that are up for free agency. They need to fill some spots. Ronald Acuna Jr. is coming back. If they keep Rosario, the Braves really solidify their outfield and the potential of repeating in the National League East, where the Mets have certainly put together a team that's going to challenge. Number 19, Collin McHugh. McHugh is going to be one of those types of players that's very sneaky in terms of free agency. Quality reliever who's been doing it for a little while now. He had a really terrific season with the Rays last year. Everybody's looking for a type of player like McHugh, but I think he ends up in Toronto. The Jays then were looking to potentially add a big name to their bullpen, but a player like McHugh, he really fits in that mid-role mix in their bullpen. Adam Simmer and Trevor Richards were brought in last year to kind of solidify that spot. Add in Tim Meza. You maybe bump up Jordan Romano to be the full-time closer with the Jays, and you fit Collin McHugh, then there's a real solid 8th inning type player. I don't think the Jays need a Jansen type player. I think a Collin McHugh really fits well with their team, and it takes a little bit from the Rays, the team you're trying to catch in that American League East. Number 20, Zack Grienke. Grienke had some struggles last year with the Astros, and maybe we're starting to see the beginning of the end for his career as he winds it down. But Grienke still has a little bit of something to offer in that expertise and that brilliance that comes with his mind. He can be a real fun player to watch at times. He really understands how to pitch and really understands how to win. So what type of team is looking for that in the rotation? I think it's the Angels. The Angels, outside of Shohei Ohtani, have real question marks in the rotation. Noah Syndergaard, they signed for a big deal. Who knows if he's going to be fully healthy and can deliver. I think Grienke gives you some quality innings and can really teach that pitching staff how to win. The Angels have never figured this out in terms of pitching staff to really take their team to the next level. Maybe Greinke's kind of veteran know-how will help them take that step. So I've got Grienke joining the Angels and seeing if they can really put something together with Trout, Ohtani, and the whole group. Number 21, Tyler Anderson. Anderson's an interesting guy. Soft tossing lefty. He's going to give you a lot of innings. The Pirates used him very well last year and managed him on a 1-year deal. I think a team like the Pirates is going to end up with Tyler Anderson again this year. Anderson can give you a lot of veteran innings. It really isn't going to hurt your rotation. He's the type of player that can be moved at the trade deadline to give you kind of a middle-of-the-road prospect or maybe a couple of low-end prospects with the potential to really hit big. So I think Tyler Anderson ends up with a team like the Arizona Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks really struggled last year in the rotation. They can really make use of a player like Anderson for a few years until their young arms can really catch up. He can give you some veteran innings up until the trade deadline, and then he's a quick flip to a more of a contending team as kind of a back-end rotation guy, maybe a long guy in the bullpen. We'll see where he ends up. I expect him to be moved at the trade deadline again this year, provided he's healthy and producing. So I've got Tyler Anderson going to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Number 22, Joc Pederson. Joc had some interesting times last year, being split between the Cubs and the Braves, and at one time we almost thought he might be moved from the Braves again when they were really starting to crash before they turned it around to save their season. The Braves are the type of team who might look to bring Joc Pederson back, but I think Joc's going to have a little more value in the open market. With the DH coming into play, he can still play an all right field or left field for you, give you some innings out there, but I think his value comes hitting against right-handed hitters as a DH, and he is better against left-handed hitters than he gets credit. I'm hedging my bets here a little bit with Pederson. I think Nelson Cruz is going to end up in Milwaukee, but if Nelson Cruz doesn't end in Milwaukee, I've got Joc Pederson joining the Brewers. Brewers need some pop. They need to produce some more runs, and if they're not going to land someone a little bit higher up in this list, I think Joc Pederson's a good fallback plan for them. Number 23, Tommy Pham. Tommy Pham does a lot of things well in the baseball field, but he doesn't really get the recognition that you'd often think of. Padres seem to be leading away from maybe bringing Pham back. I don't know where he type fits all the time, but I think he's going to find a nice home somewhere, and I think it's going to be in Kansas City. Pham brings a lot of quality tools to the ballpark. He can run a little bit, he can hit a little bit, he's got a decent enough arm, he plays decent enough defense. I think the Royals are the type of team that could bring him in maybe on a 1 or 2 year deal where, again, Pham could be a guy that's looked to be flipped to a contender if he's having a good season at the trade deadline. And if not, I think he still brings some veteran leadership out to Kansas City. They're kind of stuck in the mix yet, waiting for some of their young guys, but maybe with the arrival of Bobby Witt Jr. and maybe another step forward from players like Nicky Lopez, maybe it's this year the Royals can put together a little something and compete for maybe a wild card spot, or even push in that American League Central, who really, outside the White Sox, are a lot of teams that you just don't know where they're going. Maybe it's this year the Royals can put a little something together, and maybe Tommy Pham is just the player they're missing. Number 24, Jose Iglesias. Iglesias has always been more glove than bat. He's put together a couple of decent offensive years, but last year just really wasn't it between the Angels and Red Sox. I've got Iglesias ending up with the Yankees on a 1 year deal. If they strike out on Trevor Story, I think Iglesias is the type of player they're going to bring in on a short-term 1 year deal to really tide themselves over until their prospects like Anthony Volpe are able to come up and help the big club. So I've got Iglesias going to the Yankees. Number 25, the Jonathan Villar. Villar has bounced around a lot. He offers a lot of quality tools. He's a decent enough defender, but he doesn't play a lot of different positions. He's not really a shortstop, so he's going to be predominantly play second base. Villar fit in well with the Mets last year, but it seems like the Mets have upgraded so much that they won't be bringing him back. I can see Villar fitting in well with the Giants. Villar brings a lot of tools to the diamond, and a real analytics-based team like the Giants would be able to bring out some of those quality tools in him. He can run still. He still has a decent defense. He gets on base. I think Jonathan Villar fits in very well. It's kind of a super sub type player with the Giants. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. I greatly appreciate the support that you've been giving this channel. If you want to see more of this content, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this video so that you are notified the next time a baseball video from me comes to you. Take care, everybody.